Hey everyone, so in this video we're going to talk about how to solve a linear equation in one variable. And the equation you see here, 2x plus 3 is equal to 4x minus 1, is an example of a linear equation that we're trying to solve. So you see this equation here on the first page itself. See if you can try and solve it, and then now let's start actually learning how to do this. So what you see here, 5x plus 3 is equal to 2x minus 1, is an equation. It's linear and it has one variable. Let's explain this, right? So what is an equation? If you're not familiar with that, an equation basically has an equal to sign and has terms on its left and terms on the right. The terms on the left are called the terms on the left hand side, or LHS, and the terms on the right are called the right hand side, or the RHS, right? Now these, in this case, it's an algebraic equation. So the terms on the left and the terms on the right are algebraic expressions, right? And hopefully you're familiar with what algebraic expressions are. If not, then we should have a video on that as well. Now what is a linear equation? So what you see on the right here is an example of a linear equation. You see this equation, 5x plus 3 is equal to 2x minus 1. And if it's not a linear equation, it's called a non-linear equation. Then it's 5x square plus 3 is equal to 2x into sine x minus 1 is an example of a non-linear equation. Now does this tell you, or are you able to understand from this why it's a linear equation? So the answer is, you see that the variable here is x, right? And so this is an equation with one variable. In both these equations, the variable is x. You see that wherever x appears, and it can appear multiple times on either side of the equal to sign, but wherever x appears, it's always multiplied by only a constant, right? The term, that x is multiplied by does not have x in it, or does not have a variable x in it. So whenever x or the variable is multiplied by a constant in the equation, in every term, then it's called a linear equation. And it's called linear because when you start plotting a graph, and we'll talk about linear equations separately, but basically when you plot a graph like this and you show the value of, say, a function, and you have the variable x, then the graph is linear or a straight line in x, right? It would be going upwards. As x increases, y increases by the same amount, by a multiple of x, but linearly it will be a straight line. On the other hand, a non-linear equation, you see that x actually appears not just multiplied by a constant, but in a higher order form, or multiplied by something that has x. So x square is actually x times x. Here you can see it's x times sine x. So that's a nonlinear form. And when you plot a graph of, say, a function and x, where this function, say, is this term, it is actually not a straight line, it's actually a curve. So that's why it's called a nonlinear equation. So we'll probably talk about linear versus nonlinear in a separate video. But for now, just to keep in mind, when the variable appears in a linear form, meaning it's only multiplied by a constant value at any point or in any expression in the equation, it's a linear equation. Whenever nonlinear expressions, e to the power of x, sine, cos, tan, higher powers, and so on appear, then it becomes a nonlinear equation. Okay. So another example of a linear equation here on the left, on the right, and a nonlinear equation there on the left. And you see it's only one term, but exponential is a nonlinear function, right? So, okay. The second thing is, here we are trying to solve equations in one variable. So what we mean by that is, you look at here the equation on the right, and it only has one variable, that's x. Everything else is a constant. On the other hand, and so there are multiple expressions, right? 5x plus 3 is an expression, 2x minus 1 is an expression, but they're all in the variable x. You look at the term on the left and you have xy plus 2x. Now y is another variable, right? In this particular case, y is meant to be a variable. So you have two variables, and so it's a multivariable equation. So another example of a single variable in an equation, and you have an equation with two variables. Now in this particular case, or in this particular video, we are only solving equations in one variable that are linear. So let's get straight to it. So this is the equation 5x plus 3 is equal to 2x minus 1. So what you do is first you say, okay, what is the left hand side and what's the right hand side? So you've got that. Now what you do is you take all the variable terms. So whichever terms have a variable, you move it to the left and you move all the constants to the right. Right? This is a very simple way of doing it. So any term containing x, you move to the left, and in this case 3 and minus 1 are on the right. So what do you get? So you get 5x and you move this to the left, so it becomes 5x minus 2x is equal to minus 1 stays there, and this plus 3 here becomes minus 3. Right? How does that happen? You either move it across by changing this sign across the equal to sign, and if you're not sure how you do that, if there's a plus 3, you subtract the left hand side by 3, you subtract the right hand side by 3. So you get 5x plus 3 minus 3, which is 5x, 2x minus 1 minus 3, which is minus 1 minus 3. Similarly, you subtract minus 2x from the left hand side, so you get 5x minus 2x, and here you subtract 2x minus 2x, and that term goes away. So you end up with 5x minus 2x is equal to minus 1 minus 3, right? Now what do you do? 5x minus 2x is 3x, minus 1 minus 3 is minus 4. You've got 3x is equal to minus 4. Now any equation you have, like a linear equation in one variable, you eventually end up where you have x, you have a term which is a constant term multiplying it, and you have a constant on the right. You will always end up in this form. And now as you can imagine, or as you know, basically divide the left and the right by 3. So x is equal to minus 4 by 3, and you have solved the equation in one way. Okay, so hopefully that's clear, but we'll do a few more examples, right? So minus 3x minus 2 is equal to x plus 9. So what do? First we want to take all the x terms to the left, so you subtract the left hand side by x. So you do minus x here, you do minus x here, so you end up with minus 3x minus x is equal to 9 plus 2, because what you've also done here in the same step is add 2 to the left and add 2 to the right. So all the x terms are on the left and all the constants are on the right, And the simple way to do this is just, if you have an x here, take it across the equal to sign, you just have to make it minus x. You have a minus 2 here, you take it across the equal to sign, it becomes plus 2. The sign changes if you move it across the equal to sign. That's a simple way of thinking about it. So now you get minus 4x is equal to 11, and so x is equal to minus 11 by 4. One more example, so super simple, x plus 2 is equal to 7. So there's no x on the right hand side, so you don't have to worry about that. X is equal to 7 minus 2, which is 5. Now this is, or it looks like a slightly more complicated expression, because you have all the x on one side, but it's a fraction. And so by definition, it's a non-linear term, right? You've multiplied this by a term containing x. But actually, is it a non-linear term? And the answer is actually, by rearranging this in a very simple fashion, it becomes a linear equation. What do? Well, you multiply both sides by 3x plus 1. So you do 5x minus 1 by 3x plus 1 into 3x plus 1, 2 into 3x plus 1. What do you get? You get 5x minus 1 is equal to 2 into 3x plus 1. Now, a simple way of thinking about this, like I said, you multiply both sides of the equation by 3x plus 1. But an equally simple way of thinking about it is you just take this term here. Whenever you have an expression like this, two sides with fractions, you can just take this here, and if there's a denominator here, you can take it that side. So you've got 5x minus 1 is equal to 2 into 3x plus 1. You expand this, right? 3 2s are 6, 2 1s are 2. So 5x minus 1 is equal to 6x plus 2. Now you move all the x terms to the left and the constants to the right. You get minus 1x is equal to 3. X is equal to minus 3, right? Simple. So hopefully that has taught you how you can solve a linear equation in one variable. We've gone through a lot of different examples. And now what you can do is go to TeachYaar.com and you can take this quick test, right? And I've dropped a screenshot of that here. A few more examples of how to solve linear equations in one variable. So what you can do is just scan the QR code, right? Or go to TeachYaar.com, this link, and we'll drop it in the comment section as well. So just go to that link, take the test, it's free. And at the end of the test, you'll get some feedback as well on why, these equations are solved in this way. So hopefully you're learning, how to solve this. And please subscribe to the TeachYaar YouTube channel. Give us a like if you like this content, and feel free to share.